Welcome to the F1 News Zone, the show where we round up the biggest stories in Formula 1 right now. There are some huge stories to take you through, including some worrying news about both Sergio Perez and the 26 Formula 1 regulations, and a former F1 race winner coming out as gay in what is a landmark moment for the sport. Let's dive into the action. Ralf Schumacher has been in the news again recently, and it's not for racing reasons, really. It's been revealed online that he's in a relationship right now with another man, which may come as a surprise to most people. It came as a surprise to me when I saw it, not least because he was married to a woman for a very long time and actually has a son, David Schumacher, who's competed in Formula 3. But yeah, it's a really, really wholesome post as well, what he's actually put. And some of his colleagues at Sky Germany as well have put some nice tributes out to him as well. Let me just have a look here. So he came out on Instagram. He said that the most beautiful thing in life is when you have the right partner by your side with whom you can share everything, which is just so sweet, man. That's just lovely. That really is. And Carmen Guys, who's a TV personality that I assume works with Schumacher, she wrote, "I want to tell you about a person who plays a very special role in my life. For many years I have known and love him infinitely. His presence in my life is a blessing, and our deep connection has only grown stronger over the years. This wonderful man has an equally wonderful son who means a lot to him, and who has been a source of joy and pride for him through many ups and downs. Together they have shared unforgettable moments and built a strong, loving relationship that is shaken by nothing. Today he confessed his homosexuality. This step was an act of liberation and self-acceptance for him. It was a courageous decision that has matured him for a long time, and one he is now full of pride and confidence with. His outing is not only a personal triumph, but a sign that he is finally able to live and love his true identity without fear or shame." This is the thing. It's rare that sports stars, male sports stars, I should say, come out with their sexuality if it's not straight. I mean, you never come out as straight. Like, I never came out as straight. I just am. But if you're bisexual, gay, or whatever, it's different. You have to. For that to be known, you have to come out, and to do that is a huge thing and something that I don't have any experience with, but I know a lot of people who have, and I totally get it. I get why it's such a huge thing. It's massive at the end of it. It's like coming out about anything. It's a huge. You think that people look at you different and things like that. That's what I imagine it's like. But yeah, I mean, it's great. It's great, and this is a huge thing for Formula 1, I think, and motorsport in general, because if you look at the history of F1. There's only been 2 drivers that have been openly, queer, as the term is now, I should say. That was an offensive term many years ago. Now it's the term that's accepted. So if that strikes you that I'm using that word, just look it up. It is a term that people use. And there's only been 2 people before in F1 that have been like that we know of, obviously, that have been out. Mike Butler, who was a driver back in the 1970s, was not a prolific driver. He had a couple seasons in the sport, didn't score any points, but he was openly gay. And Lola Lombardi as well, the only female driver to score any points in Formula 1, she was openly a lesbian as well. So it is. I'm not gonna discount Lola Lombardi, because what she did was absolutely incredible in an era, especially when the cars were so physical and so dangerous back in the 70s when she was racing. She's a real trailblazer and a pioneer in that regard for women's motorsport. But she didn't win any races or anything like that. Ralf Schumacher is the brother of arguably the greatest Formula 1 driver ever, Michael, and he was a very successful driver in his own right as well. Like I've previously said, he won several races. He drove for the likes of Toyota, Williams and Jordan. Was an extremely successful driver, and I think it's really wholesome as well that this is not such a big. There's no kind of outrage about it. There's no kind of, how do I say, there's no kind of overreaction really to this. There's no like, oh my God, Ralf Schumacher's come out. This is ridiculous. Who saw this coming? There's nothing like that. It's just like, yeah, he's in a relationship with a man now, and that's kind of it. I'm so happy for Ralf that he's done this. I think this will be a huge weight off his shoulders. It's got to be at the end of the day, and I've seen plenty of love and support for him online. The online community in Formula 1 can be a rather questionable place at the best of times, but for serious stuff like this, it's really good. I've seen a real outpouring of support for him, so I think it's fantastic. And this might encourage other drivers as well to do the same if they're if they're in the closet, as it were, if that's an acceptable term. And I apologise if it's not, but that's you know what I mean. People that are not out about their sexuality. I hope it inspires more people to do the same at the end of the day, because like with football, it's a statistical impossibility that there's like one homosexual male footballer in the world. It's just impossible. There's thousands of them. There has to be. And with racing drivers, there's dozens of them. There has to be. The numbers game just does not add up that Ralf Schumacher is the only living Formula One driver, past or present, that is queer, is a homosexual, as the article says on planetf1.com. I do have to shout out planetf1.com. That's how I found this information out. So yeah, I think it's great that it's not being made a massive deal of, and yeah, I think it could be an inspiration. So good on you, Ralph. Good on you. Bit of a sad story coming out of Red Bull recently, that Dr. Helmut Marko, one of the main guys at Red Bull, has come out and said that Sergio Perez is mentally battered recently thanks to what's been going on, which is, yeah, that's bad to hear. I mean, look, I criticise Perez a lot for his poor performances, as I have the right to do, as any Formula One fan has the right to do as well. But I don't make it personal. I don't say that, he's completely useless, because he's not. He's a Grand Prix winning driver. He is a great driver. It's just that it's just not working out right now at Red Bull, and there's a real case to be made that he should be moved on. I don't think he should be, to be honest. I think the problem is more the car than anything, personally. But I think that Max Verstappen is showing what that car is actually capable of. I think he's outperforming the car. But Perez isn't quite getting 110% out of it, because the car is not designed for him. The car is not set up for him. It's set up for Max Verstappen, and they're trying to make the best out of a bad bunch. Basically, they're trying to, try and get a royal flush, but they've got 2 8s. It's just not going to work out. You can do your best, but it's not really going to work out like that. But let me just go into what Marko said here, because I think it's quite fascinating, and there is a full article over on the F1chronicle.com if you're going to check it out. The link should be in the description as usual. But yeah, so Sergio Perez is mentally battered as Dr. Marko refused to deny raging speculation that Red Bull may decide to oust the struggling Mexican driver within 2024, because there is that strong rumour going around that there is this clause in his contract that says if he's more than 100 points behind Verstappen at the summer break, Red Bull can cancel that contract, even though that contract runs until the end of 2026, which he signed as recently as Monaco. It was only a few months ago the guy was signing a contract extension, and now he might get sacked. But yeah, he's not entertaining these ideas in a sense. He said, if, that's all speculation. Mercedes have taken a step forward, but that doesn't mean they have the fastest car yet. Silverstone, with its cool temperatures, was good for Mercedes. They usually struggle in the heat. Not wrong entirely, to be fair. But what is normal about this situation? We're experiencing such ups and downs that we're sometimes at a loss. Our focus is on winning the World Championship and making sure Sergio Perez gets back to normal form. With all the bad luck he's had, he is mentally battered. Nothing is certain in Formula One. Almost all the top drivers have a performance clause in their contracts, which again is not wrong. I think Perez's is quite unique though. I mean, I might be wrong. I don't know what's in a lot of contracts, but I can't see George Russell having a performance clause like that in his contract. Whereas if he's 100 points behind Sir Lewis at the summer break, he'll be sacked. I don't see that. And I don't see it at Ferrari. I don't see it Aston Martin. I mean, if they have it for Aston Martin, Stroll would have been gone ages ago. I just don't see it. I don't see it. I do see it at Red Bull. There's no smoke without fires on these things. I mean, all the people claim to be in the know. They know what's going off, all this and that. And a lot of people are talking rubbish, but these rumours have to come from somewhere, and usually they're correct. But yeah, I think it's interesting, isn't it? I mean, you got to think about the human side of this and the pressure that Perez is under, and it's going to be immense. His confidence is absolutely shot to pieces. Simple as that. He's had some he's had some bad luck in fairness, but he's had some really poor performances too. And putting himself back at the grid in his qualifying sessions, that's been the worst part about it. I think in the races he does all right sometimes, but he starts so low down that it's so hard to recover to do that, and he gets himself in a place where realistically he's never going to win a race. Simple as that. So I think it's an interesting one. I do feel for the guy. I don't think he should be replaced at the summer break, but there's strong rumours it's going to happen, whether it's going to be Lawson or whether it's going to be Ricciardo. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. But yeah, guys, what do you think Red Bull should do? Should Perez be sacked? And who would you bring in if so? Let us know in the comments below as always. And of course, for much more F1 rumours, keep it tuned here right to theFormulaOne.com. According to BBC Sport journalist Andrew Benson, Esteban Ocon has signed with Haas for the 2025 season. Haas have already confirmed that Ollie Behrman, the current Ferrari junior driver and the driver that impressed so well as a last-minute substitute at the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix earlier this season, will be driving for the team. Behrman also completed a free practice session at Silverstone a few weeks ago. The second Haas seat has been the subject of much speculation, but Ocon looks set to be the driver that's chosen for this. Haas not electing to keep Kevin Magnussen on for another year. Nico Hülkenberg was already, of course, confirmed to be driving for Sauber next year, who will later become Audi, of course, in 2026. So yeah, this news is a bit of a surprise to say the least. Ocon has been out of a seat for next year ever since his disgraceful crash against Pierre Gasly earlier in the season at Monaco. That basically ended up with him being sacked for next season. And I think if it's true, it's a brilliant move for Ocon. You could argue that it's actually a promotion. It's a move up the grid. Haas this season have been much better than Alpine. Haas currently sitting in 7th place in the Constructors' Championship, I believe, with Alpine down in 8th, and a distant 8th at that. Despite some regular point scoring finishes for Alpine, they've not scored big points really at any points. It's been a bunch of 9th and 10th, and that's kind of been it. Haas have scored some very impressive results, but only in the hands of Nico Hülkenberg, and that is probably the reason why Haas are not electing to keep Magnussen on for another season. Magnussen has, of course, been extremely controversial this season. I personally believe he has done extremely well to avoid a race ban for some of his antics in both Miami and Monaco as well. He's very, very close to getting a ban on the super license points regardless of those incidents, and somehow he's not managed to get any more points since that happened. But yeah, obviously Haas are wanting a fresh start. I think it is a risk, to be honest, and not for the reasons you might expect me to say that. I think it's a risk because you've got 2 new drivers in the team then. I mean, admittedly, Behrman is always going to be a bit of a risk because he is a rookie, albeit an incredible rookie, and I think he fully merits that drive, and I can't wait to see him in the car, really. But when it comes to Ocon, it's a bit of a risk. I mean, the guy has pulled out some good performances over the years. He got some great finishes in the Renault, he got some great finishes in the Racing Point and the Force India as well, went back when he used to drive for them. Since he's been at Alpine, I mean, he obviously got that incredible win at Hungary in 21, but that's 3 years ago now. That's a long time. And since then, for me, he's not really done that much. I'd say that Pierre Gasly has overall been a better driver really than him. Not by much, but still a better driver. But Haas obviously want an experienced and more level-headed driver to be in that second seat. They obviously feel that Magnussen is not the right man, not the man that they want Behrman to be learning off. Maybe Ferrari have even had a hand in that decision too. They don't want K-Mag in there because he's more of a risk. But at the same time, obviously Ocon, he makes a real habit of making collisions with his teammates, and I'm not saying they're all his fault because they're not. There was some particularly with Sergio Perez back when they were at Force India where it wasn't his fault. It just wasn't. But with this, I mean, it could be a new start for him. I mean, obviously, him and Gasly don't get on. We know that. That is a rivalry, that's been covered so many times on this. And I also think that it's very unique to them because it's been going on for so long. It's been going on since the karting day. Ocon's never raced against Behrman unless they actually raced against each other at the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. That's it. And they're not going to have a bit of a previous episode of that, really. So it could be a great move for them. It could be. And I'm not totally against it, I'll be honest. But I think in general, it's a big risk to change both of your drivers. You want some sort of consistency there. But the facts can't be ignored that Magnussen's underperformed this season. Yes, he's done a great duty to Hülkenberg to help him out as much as possible, but overall, Hülkenberg has been by far the better driver. Magnussen has been beating all ends up, so I can understand it from that point of view as well. But yeah, guys, there we go. Esteban Ocon heading to Haas, if the rumours are to be believed. Is this a good move for him? Is it a good move for Haas? And where does Kevin Magnussen go next year? Let us know all of that in the comments below as always. And for more breaking news from the world of Formula One, keep it tuned to the F1 Chronicle right here. According to simulations run by Mercedes-AMG, the 2026 Formula One cars are not fast enough. According to Mercedes boss Toto Wolff, they are still, and I quote, much too slow, end quote. There's an article on the F1Chronicle.com if you guys want to check it out that goes into a lot of detail here, but I'll just get my glasses on and actually read it out for you, or at least the main bits of it anyway. So, Formula 1 risks becoming much too slow with the debut of the 2026 regulations as currently written, according to Toto Wolff. Many are tipping Mercedes to once again ace the forthcoming rule change like they did in 2014 and 2017 for that matter, but not 2022. It's not gone as well for them so far, although they are picking up things now, of course. But even boss Toto Wolff admits he is worried about the lap times currently emerging from the simulators. What we need are cars that are having as little drag as possible on the straights, but still have enough downforce to be fast in the corners. Indeed, so extreme is the electrical component of the hybrid engine power for 2026, because it's going to be a 50-50 power thing. So let's just say the internal combustion engine outputs 400, the electric side of it is going to aim to output 400 horsepower as well. Like right now it's about 200, I think, something like that for electrical power. It's about 80-20, something like that. Happy to be corrected on that, of course, though. Although power figures are something that, Formula One teams absolutely get under lock and key. They don't want to give that information out to the public because it gives it to competitors too. Wolff has warned, what we have now is much too slow. Sometimes we have lap times that are 10 seconds slower than today. That's a lot. So to put that in perspective, if that Formula One car, that 2026 Formula One car was trying to qualify for a Grand Prix now, it would not qualify because it wouldn't hit the 107% performance rule. 10 seconds a lap. Even around Spa, even if he's talking about Spa, the longest lap time in terms of distance and overall time on the calendar, that is still well over 7% of the lap. A lap around Spa is about 100 seconds, about 1 minute 40. So that's not good. In fact, that puts it into the territory as being about the same kind of pace as a Formula 2 car, depending on which track it is. Wolff went on to say, but Formula 1 has always been the cradle of innovation, and I am convinced that the cars will become fast again through what engineers come up with. And that's happened already. I mean, I remember 2014, the lap times were very slow there compared to what Formula 1 cars have been in the past. But eventually they managed to get them super quick. And in fact, when they shifted regulations for 2017, they were some of the fastest cars ever at that point, albeit with a bit of technical help like that does help. But the Austrian thinks that even if lap times do take a hit in 2026, many spectators wouldn't mind or notice. He said, the cars are still much faster than anything else that exists. You would also have to realise there's little difference for a television viewer. And again, that's fair. I mean, seeing a Formula 1 car in the flesh, it shows how incredibly quick it is, and it's still way quicker than anything you'll experience in everyday life. And it's really hard. I mean, this is one of the things that surprised me the most about going to Formula 1 in person for the first time, to watch it on TV for years. The sense of speed on TV, it's nothing like what you see in real life. With your own two eyes, it looks incredible. It looks so different. TV does not do it justice, trust me. He said as well, the Indy cars look fast too, but they're 20 seconds slower than Formula 1 cars, which is true. Although Indy cars do race around ovals, so they are actually quicker than F1 cars if you take it as an average speed depending on the track. But I assume that he's talking about actual circuits, and I'm just being pedantic as usual. And he's also said perhaps there could have been a little less battery and a little more combustion engine. After all, we'll be already running entirely on sustainable fuel. That fuel is 100% sustainable, so we could certainly have made some adjustments. But anyway, it's too late for that now. So Mr. Wolff sounds a little bitter there. I hope his team are doing well with these engine change regulations, but yeah, he doesn't sound too happy overall. But he also admits that for the fan, it doesn't really matter. As long as the product is a good and entertaining, we get good races, and nobody's like miles ahead of the rest of the pack, just like Mercedes were in 2014, I think people will be happy. But we'll see what happens, guys. What do you think about Wolff's comments? Are they fair, or do they come across as bitter? Let us know in the comments below. And for much more Formula 1 content, keep it tuned right here to the F1Chronicle.com. Dr. Helmut Marko has been doing the rounds in the media as usual, ahead of a Grand Prix, and this time he's actually kind of graciously admitted that his Red Bull team is not the fastest on the grid anymore. In fact, he said that 2 teams are currently ahead of them in the overall performance pecking order. So let's have a look at what he said. So, Red Bull has fallen behind not one but two F1 teams as the first half of the 2024 season has been completed. I have done a mid-season driver grades review if you guys haven't seen it already, going over my opinions on every driver performance in the first half of the season, because Silverstone did mark the halfway point, round 12 of 24, so yes, but a lot has changed in that time. I mean, you think about how dominant Max was during, the first 5 rounds of the season. There was only really his retirement because of a mechanical issue in Australia that stopped him winning the first 5 rounds. Things have definitely changed since then. And Marco has admitted this. He said, and I quote, "Thank God there's an update in Budapest, and we hope that it will take us a step forward," referring to obviously Red Bull's update, a front wing or something like that. He's also admitted that Red Bull now needs to be perfect during race weekends to win races. One thing is certain, he added, the update has to work because we are currently behind McLaren, and if you look at the race in England, we are also behind Mercedes. Yeah, Mercedes and McLaren, definitely the fastest cars on the grid in Silverstone. Obviously that changed as the race went on. Max was the fastest car in the latter stages of the race, but for a long time they looked well beaten. In fact, even Carlos Sainz was catching Max Verstappen in the Ferrari. So I mean, they got a big lead in the Constructors and the Drivers' Championship, but that might not last forever. That might not last, especially the Constructors one, with how well McLaren are doing at the moment. But the good news, said the 81, he's 81 years old now, wow, the 81-year-old Austrian, is that Red Bull's rivals appear to be taking it in turns to win races, which is helping Max to maintain and even extend his current points lead. But we can't rely on that, said Marco. I also believe that Ferrari is no longer in the running, but we have to be able to win on our own again. That's our goal. We still have 12 race weekends ahead of us, and we can't rely on there always being others behind us and now ahead of us, and that benefiting us. Another issue for Red Bull is the Constructors' Championship, like I said, because Sergio Perez right now is letting the side down. He's been in incredibly bad form, and I've done a few videos already on Perez. Apparently Lawson and Ricciardo are both looking like they're going to get in for his seat in the summer break. Apparently there's a performance clause that if he's 100 points behind by the summer break, and 100 points behind Verstappen, that is, they can sack him. Marco said that Perez is mentally battered, which is an interesting phrase, and I don't disagree with his current form at the moment. And in fact, Marco said we need 2 drivers at the front for the Constructors' Championship, and we still hope that Sergio will find his form again. We will evaluate the situation after the next 2 races in the summer break, and then we'll see. That sounds ominous. Marco also hinted that Liam Lawson is now on the cusp of making a full-time step up to F1, with rumours suggesting the Red Bull will oust the 34-year-old Daniel Ricciardo at the Junior Racing Bull team. Oh wow, he said it's good that young people are coming to F1. I'm absolutely in favour of that, he said, referring to the 24. Shocking. I mean, wow. That feels so bad for Ricciardo, man. I don't think he's done a lot wrong. I don't think he's done too much right either, but I feel that'd be so harsh on him if he gets kicked out for Lawson mid-season. But then again, I thought that Lawson should have been in the seat for Racing Bull full-time this season anyway, so maybe the universe is balancing itself out. But yeah, there's a full article on the F1 Chronicle that goes over this as always, guys. I'll put the link to that in the description of this video as always. But yeah, it very much sounds to me like they're thinking about getting rid of Perez, but Ricciardo on the cusp of getting sacked too. Guys, let us know your thoughts in the comments below. I'm definitely surprised at that. And of course, as always, do keep it tuned here to the F1Chronicle.com for much more F1 news just like this. Martin Brundle has publicly apologised to Sir Brian May for his conduct in the build-up to the British Grand Prix. Martin Brundle went on his grid walk, as he always does in the build-up to a Grand Prix for Sky Sports Formula 1 channel, where he tried to speak to Sir Brian May, the member of the band Queen. You may have heard of them before. If you haven't, improve your taste in music. They're absolute legends. But he tried to speak to Brian May on 2 occasions, and normally on the grid walk, people want to speak to Martin Brundle. He's a very well-known figure in Formula 1, but May, said no twice, and his reason for doing so, he made very clear that he didn't feel comfortable speaking about Formula 1 because he wasn't as knowledgeable as a lot of other people around there. And I believe May as well also waved the checkered flag at the end of the race. That's part of the reason why he was there. He was probably a guest of the circuit more than anything else. And this kind of brings up memories of a few different things. I mean, I remember Cara Delevingne. I think she was there either last year or the year before, and she got a lot of stick, and I mean a lot of stick online for for being like, oh, how can you turn down Martin Brundle? The guy's a legend. What's wrong with you? People these days are so privileged and all this and that. And it's just like, well, she's probably not that much of a fan of Formula One. She was probably just a guest of, as it was then, Alfa Romeo, as it is now, Sauber. You know, and it's like, I kind of contextualize this by, you know, kind of applying it to myself and just thinking, right, if I got invited to the Super Bowl in America, right, if I got invited as a guest to go, would I go? Well, of course I would go, because it's an incredible event. But do I know anything about American football? Would I be comfortable with someone sticking a microphone in my face and being like, what do you think about this touchdown by the quarterback or whatever? I'd have no clue. I'd have no idea what's going on. So I wouldn't feel comfortable with it. And just because they're famous doesn't mean they have to do it. And in fairness to Brundle, he has actually come out and you know, apologised for his conduct, which I think is very good of him. Because I tell you what, I mean, I'm in a lot of Facebook groups for Formula One, and I saw Brian May get so much hate for that. And it's just not right, because, yeah, if he was like, you know, ignoring him and stuff like that, then fair enough. But he said, I don't feel comfortable speaking about this. I'm not knowledgeable enough about this. I don't want to speak on public TV, live to the UK and a lot of the English-speaking world as well. Totally get it. Totally get it. He's a clever fella, and he don't want to look like an idiot at the end of the day. You know, he's got his reputation to think about. I totally understand. You don't want to say anything that's wrong. But yeah, so let me just go through what's actually been said. So Brian May actually apologised first publicly. He said, and I quote, I had a great day at Silverstone thanks to the kindness of the Mercedes team, and my grandson had some truly historic birthday moments. And by the way, apologies to Mr. Brundle. Absolutely no intention of snubbing you. All you see is someone who is nervous of speaking about something of which he has little understanding and anxious to get where he is supposed to be. Enough. That's, you know, and Brundle as well responds to that, apologising himself, saying, and I quote, it is me who should be apologising to Sir Brian May, not him for me for the grid walk on Sunday at Silverstone. I didn't address him as Sir Brian, and I shouldn't have approached him twice when he wasn't up for a chat on live TV. Nobody is ever obliged to talk to me on the grid, or anywhere else for that matter. Which is, again, it's absolutely fair enough. You know, Brundle's great. I love him. I think he's the best part about Sky Sports Formula One coverage. I don't think there's that many good parts to it, personally. That's just my opinion. But I think he's definitely one of the best parts of it. And at the end of the day, no one is obliged to speak to him. I would be honoured if you come and speak to me on the grid, you know. That'd be incredible. But, you know, I'm a fan at the end of the day. You know, a lot of the people that are on there probably won't know who he is, you know. They might know his voice or something like that, but you probably won't know him as a person. So you don't even know that he's a former racing driver. So I think it's absolutely fair enough of me to be like, look, I didn't want to speak to him. I didn't feel comfortable. I felt nervous doing that. And that's absolutely fair enough. I'm sure there's some people out there that say, no, he's a live performer for music. You know, why is he getting nervous at that? Well, he's human at the end of the day. And nerves come from when you're not comfortable with a situation. You can be comfortable with performing in front of 100,000 people at Wembley back in the day, but you might not be comfortable speaking about the aerodynamics of a Formula One car. It's fair enough, really. But yeah, what's your guys' take on it? Was Brian May rude? Was he right to turn down Brundle? Was Brundle right to, you know, to come up to him twice? Let us know in the comments below, of course. And of course, keep it tuned here to the F1Chronicle.com for much more video content just like this.